Hello.
Hello, Ben. Happy to be back.
Yeah, good to have you. And we also have a man who I'm surprised could make it, considering, his right-hand man's away, but it's good to have him anyway. It's 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me again. Thanks for having me whilst you're here, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, you two on the pod at the same time. I don't know what sort of...
I had to beat the allegations when Josh was away by inviting Nep. I thought it made sense. So yeah, good to have you on, Nep. And actually, I think there's going to be a fair few things to talk about. I want to start off by doing pound for pound as we always do, and then we'll dive into Make Your Mark more broadly. But last week's nominations, Nep, you need to know because you're going to be picking the pound for pound winner for last week. So we had... Make Your Mark 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗀𝘃, the Georgian, and then Make Your Mark McKenny and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗀𝘀. Who are you going to be picking as winner between those three?
Well, I used 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and I wasn't overly keen on him. And then I used 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 a lot. And I don't know what it is with his body type, but he was awful for me. And so I didn't like either of those. So I'm going to go with McKenny, even though I haven't used him. The other two I just didn't like. So I don't think they're very good value.
I think that's a wise choice, though, Nep.
Yeah.
I don't know who put forward the American, but it's a good pick.
Yeah, and he got his upgrade already. I mean, I don't know how much the chemistry boost actually matters, to be honest, but it is, it's helpful. And then we can move into the pound for pound powerhouse for this week. And yeah, we'll start off with you, Nep, seeing as you're, the least regularly on the podcast. Who are you going to nominate as your pound for pound?
I am going to go with Mikel Antonio. He's live now. He's upgradable. He's already got his first chemistry upgrade, I believe, or at least that'll be coming in the next couple of days. And he's 40k at the moment on the market. And he's not pretty, right? He's got 4-star, which turns people off. He's got power header plus, which nobody likes. But I have never used a card in this entire game cycle that has power shots as good as him.
I heard that from a few people, actually, yeah. Do you have any idea what that is, like, that makes it so good?
Can't figure it out. Apparently, Michael Ballack's got ridiculously broken power shot plus power shot really animations as well. Yeah, so I want to try and find the link between what is it? Is it a stat? Is it a body type? Is it accelerate? Is it another play style that gives them something else? I don't know, but... yeah, his were just different gravy for me.
Yeah, I found the same with Podolski, actually, that his power shots are ridiculous. And I wonder whether it's something to do with weight or like mass, basically, meaning that there's more force or something. I don't know. I'm not really completely sure. But
that's how shooting works, didn't you know?
You get more kind of leg weight behind your shot if you're heavier, I guess. And they could...
You're swinging a club and not a hammer?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know, maybe. But also, I've never noticed smaller players having really powerful power shots necessarily. I don't know, it's interesting. Maybe listeners can write in if they have any ideas for that. But yeah, good first nomination. Let's move over to you, Japes. So you're going to continue your US nomination streak?
I'm going to stay on the continent, but I'm not going to stay in the country. That Steven Eustáquio, SBC, the Canadian guy,
yeah.
He has like every play style you could possibly want for my like little right mid role. He's so good. He's like 40k. He plays for Canada. I think he's already got his like chem upgrade probably, or will get it. But he's like, for the value, he's great. He's got awesome play styles too.
Yeah, it's nice that he's got jockey, intercept, and bruiser, which I think are decent for kind of attacking midfielders to still have an impact, basically. Really good passing play styles, and the press proven, which is nice. I always think like if you're going to have a player with not too many dribbling play styles, if they have press proven, you're basically compensating for the rest of them to some extent.
Yeah.
So he's really, really good, and just mad cheap, basically, fodder price or maybe just over that, but it's fine because you're just putting fodder in there. So yeah, I like that a lot. Someone who I wasn't really necessarily expecting to nominate for pound necessarily when he was released, but maybe 4 hours later, I was then like, yeah, I guess it makes sense, is Dominik Szoboszlai, right? Because
you're building a full Liverpool team now, right? Just like everybody else.
They've been churning out the Liverpool SBCs and content recently. But, obviously they did beat Scotland, even though, it was a bit of a 50-50 game before the match. The fact that they actually did get the win means that, he's potentially going to get further upgrades now, which wasn't always going to be the case. He has already had a goal/assist, so that means he will need one more goal/assist to get the +1 overall. Maybe he'll do that in the next round, and he is 2 appearances away from getting all the appearance upgrades, which I guess there's a chance that might happen. Maybe not super likely, but you never know. They definitely have some spirit and have a chance. But in terms of the playstyles, I think he's really good as well. If you don't have someone with their ball plus, I think he's going to be really, really good. His free kicks are amazing for those who've used any other version of his card. And he's also got technical plus, power shot plus, and first touch plus, which is just a really good combination on an attacking midfielder. He has incisive, long ball, tiki-taka, and whipped as base play styles, as well as Trivela. So, in terms of the passing and shooting, he's going to be pretty good. Finesse base as well. And I think it's a bit of a shame he doesn't have any real defensive ability apart from acceptable defensive awareness. So he is more of a proper attacker. He has 5-star skills though, which is pretty good. And I think the stats do look good too. But I think, for 200k SBC, not hugely high rated squads either. I think it's a great SBC and fantastic value. Perhaps leads us into talking about any other SBCs we'd like to chat about. You already mentioned the Eustáquio japes, but how are we feeling about the Darwin Nunez? He is, of course, a physical press proven plus striker, so I guess he's got credit for that. But then, he has that rapid plus, which we've been unsure about in the past. But he does have the finesse plus, which is also really good, and power shot plus. So I've actually completed him. I've played some games with him, but I'm interested to hear if there are any other verdicts so far.
I have not used him. I'm probably not going to do that SBC. I think he looks like really, really good. I don't know. He's just one of those players that I feel like leaves a bad taste in my mouth on this game for whatever reason. Probably because of how prevalent he was from that first Founders upgrade. And because of that, I just don't have any interest in. I just have no interest in using him. Also, I feel like I got burned. Like I did that Luis Diaz SBC and I regretted it. And I was like, I don't really care about using Liverpool players. Nor do I care about Darwin Nunez that much. So I'm at the stage in the game where I'm kind of picking players that I think the card is like cheap and fun and is going to be no big deal to like fit in, or it's a player that I'm like interested, like that Josh Sargent SBC, just for the sake of him being American.
Yeah. That makes sense. What about you, Nep? Have you given him a go or have any thoughts?
I haven't given him a go. He does look like ridiculously good, almost too good. But it's not a player for me. Since they killed the grind, if I'm not doing like a specific themed Road to Glory now, I don't get these cards and actually play with them anymore. I just look at them and think, yeah, he looks really good, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, we'll talk about the menu grind in a bit. As I said, did do him. I think he's really quite good, especially for the price. I think, as we talked about, the playstyles he has being quite strong. Actually, also the base playstyles he has are pretty good as well. Because ping to pass, I think, if you can have one of the passing playstyles, is quite helpful. I probably have preferred tiki-taka, but it's sort of the second best for a striker, I think. And then he's got Trivela, which is helpful for shooting. He's got quick step, which obviously makes him quicker. And he's got technical, which is nice. But his stats are just really good across the board. He's incredibly physical, as people know, but he's also got really, really high dribbling, passing, and shooting. Using an engine, haven't had a problem with his 92 finishing, probably because I'm mainly taking finesse shots and power shots, which obviously he has the pluses, so that doesn't matter too much. I was kind of considering not doing him because I would have rather wait for a press proven plus player who also has 5-star skills, but I was too intrigued to use him considering his combination of play styles. And yeah, if he gets the ball and he has a little bit of space next to the opponent's centre back, you're basically through on goal and can take an almost guaranteed shot if you know how to use power shot plus, finesse plus. So yeah, he's extremely strong. I think anyone who has an interest in him vaguely or thinking this might be a good player for them, I think you should just go for it and do it. It's probably worth it. And as we've been mentioning, the chemistry on Liverpool players at the moment is pretty easy, and the chemistry on these players anyway is obviously very easy.
He gets max
straight
chem.
away. Yeah, he just got an upgrade actually, so he does get max chem.
How do you take advantage of press proven? Like, I still think there's so much unknown in this game with how play styles work and intertwine and stuff. I know it's good because all the pros and high level players say that press proven is really good on forwards. But what is it? Why would you, for example, Ben? Why would you say like 5-star skills and press proven plus? Why would that be even more efficient?
That's only because I'm a bit of a 5-star skill merchant. So I was just looking for I was just looking for a player who has press proven plus, which I really like, and the 5-star skills too. Weirdly, there's basically no attackers above 6 foot with that combination. Don't know why, but there just isn't. Lots with 5-star weak foot. But yeah, I think the big thing for me is the left stick dribbling on players who shouldn't be so good at left stick dribbling because they're bigger. You can kind of move them in a way that you can't move players of that size normally, as in just kind of literally sometimes step around defenders. And the bigger players have this sort of slightly bigger, I guess, movement radius, which allows them to kind of sidestep even some of the better tacklers like Van Dijk and stuff. You can actually kind of just left stick to the side around them and they'll control it really well. And I do also use the shielding, the LT shielding.
Yeah, I was going to say left stick is underappreciated with the big guys.
Yeah, that's how I tend to use it. So not only actually doing the shielding, but also I think it makes it much easier, correct me if I'm wrong, Japes, to bring the ball down in the box if the ball's in the air. Like the defenders just don't seem to be able to get to the ball if the player has press proven plus and if you shield it as the ball comes down. But Japes, feel free to obviously add anything on that.
For me, it's you can like drill passes into them and they can sort of like shift side to side really, really easy. And it's the same thing in the box. Like it makes big men dance like small men in a way. And like you notice it a lot more on big players. And then it's the same thing. Like when you spin the left stick around to kind of like make the player take like a more gradual change of direction. So like even in the midfield as well, like if somebody's trying to press you, you literally can just like swerve or swing around past them very, very easily. It's become, I feel like I've been a broken record on it. It's like one of my favorite play styles, or has been one of my favorite play styles for this whole year. Just because it has a true ability to just really, really change the ability of especially tall players to feel far more nimble. So then, I've got, Ben mentioned Boniface. I have the evoed like 96 rated Boniface now with press proven plus. And because he's been evoed, he now has 97 agility and 99 balance, 99 dribbling with being, 99 strength, 99 jumping. His stats are crazy. And if I'm moving away from pressure, it's impossible to take the ball from me. And that is a really, like when I get into like those high level games, having players like that becomes increasingly important. So it's always something that I look for to see if a player even has the silver version of it, because like that Eustáquio I talked about before, his dribbling stats are fine. I wouldn't say like great, but he's got the silver one so he can get away with just a little bit more. The one to test it with would be oh gosh, what is his name? Cadiz. I think he's Venezuelan, but like he's not got crazy stats, I would say, like anywhere. And so if you just wanted to see what it might be like, you could you could probably put an engine on him and you're getting pretty high, agility and balance. I don't know how tall he is, but I know he's like not small.
He's 6'3", yeah.
Yeah, wow. So you could definitely give him a run and check it out. Like he's going to have that's like a pound for pound card realistically.
Yeah, 20K.
Yeah. He's already got 1 goal or assist as well. He's like only 1 away from an upgrade.
Yeah, 12 play styles.
Damn, yeah.
And max chem on him as well. He's already got the chem boost.
Yeah,
First
so
touch
like
as well.
If you want to just like experience it in a say, like his long shots are lacking, and I think that's a bummer to have with Power Shot Plus. I don't know if that is making like necessarily like a huge difference, but it feels like a bummer. And his like acceleration, sprint, speed, break isn't ideal, but you'll be able to tell the difference for sure.
Yeah, and also Boniface is, obviously not that expensive himself if you want to give him a go.
He's just harder to get in because you have to go get that Nigerian manager and then a Leverkusen player realistically. But 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 is really good, so do that.
Yeah, that's true. Nice. Well, we'll take a break there and we'll be back to talk about more content that is in the game at the moment in just a second. Hello, welcome back after the break. Right, let's talk about a couple of other SBC players. I don't know if there are any particularly appealing showdowns at the moment. Sargent, I guess, for kind of the USA hype, but I don't know, Japes. Is he anything particularly special?
I haven't used him yet. I just did him.
Yeah.
If I'm picking a showdown card that I find to be like most interesting at the moment, it's unsurprisingly that Malinovsky. He's got press plus, technical plus, incisive plus to go with a bunch of other like interesting playstyles. But he also has base 86 interceptions and 86 standing tackles. So I think you get away with him in the midfield pretty easily. And so I just think like he's, hard to link, which is the problem, but has some like interesting stats and playstyle combo.
It's interesting that all the showdowns have been relatively cheap, but maybe not. I don't know. They've been good, but they seem to have avoided making them particularly premium. Do you think that's kind of a good way of going about it, or does it make it just less appealing?
I think for the most part, they have been good cards. And if they do get the upgrades have been good. It's a shame that they've only given them flat +2s this time around, because the Champions League and Europa League finals got a bit of a bigger upgrade. But I don't understand like what James said with 𝘰𝘂𝘀𝘀 and finding him hard to link him. It's like we've got so many cards now that offer 2 or 3 chem points immediately. It would make sense, these cards being this rating and this price, if they had chem, because then you could just fit them in. But because they don't, I feel like they should be maybe a little better. Like a lot of people are getting to the end of the season pass now as well, where we're picking up insane cards. And I feel like they're just a little bit behind the power curve, unless they just get full chemistry, because then they'll just slot in and you'll be able to use them. But for the most part, especially if you're trying to complete like big SBCs, doing these with your like mid-range fodder and then putting them into like a 91 or 92 rated squad for Nunez or something, I think is smart in itself. So you also get to try the player in the meantime. It's not bad.
Yeah, we've also had, in terms of the cheaper end SBCs, Christian Press, who looks quite good actually. I don't think kind of smaller strikers get so much love this year, to be honest. So maybe not as much hype around her, and hence her being cheaper. But I mean, if you are into a smaller forward, I think she looks really good. Obviously, quick step plus, power shot plus, first touch plus is a nice combination. And, you know, she's a 95 rated player for a 60 something K SBC. So again, you know, it's decent fodder return in worst case scenario. We've also had a Leonardo Bonucci SBC, who is ridiculously cheap for a 4 PlayStyle Plus player who's 96 rated and has really good in-game stats. But he is going to be fairly awkward to link, I guess. But if you have an Italy Path to Glory or Make Your Mark player, then that's getting him pretty close to full chem already. Like, you'll get 2 chemistry points, and then if you had 2 icons, you know, that would be full chem. Or, you know, if you had some other Italian players as well, it shouldn't be too bad to get him onto full chemistry. And, you know, he does look really good. Inset plus is obviously great. A bit of a shame about the slide tackle plus, but they seem pretty insistent on putting that on these 4 playstyle plus players. Are there any other SBCs that people wanted to mention? In fact, they don't necessarily need to be the player SBCs if there is interest in any others.
I mean, it is good to have the 84x10 here, even if only 3 times a day. But with the 81 plus player pick that's there right now will be gone, I presume, by the time this goes live. I really hope that whatever they give us today, assuming it's an 82 plus, isn't another one of 4 that's going to be like 11 rare golds, because this is the fun time of the game, right? Like, we should be able to experience and experiment with all of these players. So just let us grind it. If people want to sit there on your game, just let them grind it. But the 84x10 is a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, I was going to ask actually. I know there's been some complaints about the menu grind at the moment. What is the source of the frustration? I mean, obviously we're recording kind of before content on Monday, so it's potentially possible that they improve it. But yeah, where are the issues coming?
The first biggest thing is how hard these Make Your Mark cards are actually to pack, even for like the lower rated ones. Like Path to Glory cards were coming out like crazy, and it just allowed you to keep putting them through the exchange and also use them to build SBCs. But the biggest issue now is the 81 plus player pick. You get an extra player to pick from, but at the cost of 2 extra cards, and you don't actually end up getting more value out of it. Like, I actually tend to find that I've got way less high rated fodder out of the extra player picks than the 1 of 3s. And so it's just it just grinds everything to a halt. And up until a couple of days ago when we had the 84x10s, it was the 86x2s as well, and they were terrible value. So it's a little bit better right now. But we just need those like 6 card player picks back to allow us to grind through the exchange. And so I understand we're getting some more icons and heroes in packs again this week, the back end of the week. And so that will be really good for like every time there's a promo with the icons and heroes in, cards just come out like crazy. And so it's just fun. Again, it's just fun. Like, you know, the amount of icons I used through Golasso because they were so easy to pack was fun. Even like the 𝘭𝘪𝘂𝘀𝘀, 𝘬𝘯𝘰𝘀, 𝘬𝘃𝗏, they were so common out of the greats of the game situation. And although I didn't enjoy using them, it was still like, you know, you get that little bit of joy of packing one of those really high rated icons, using them for a few games, realizing they're terrible and moving on. But it's better than sitting there going, man, I wish I could at least try it, you know?
Yeah. Interesting in terms of Make Your Mark, because I was going to ask you, it feels like Make Your Mark has been a bit disappointing compared to Path to Glory. Do you think that just all comes down to pack weight and the fact that they're just seemingly rarer? Yeah, just that. Yeah.
Well, I think it's pack weight, and two, the first upgrade was like they get chemistry when we've just had a bunch of cards that like get it for free. So it's like, okay, cool. You know what I mean?
Well, also they do get extra chemistry, but they already get automatic 2 chem. So I really think the first upgrade is relatively meaningless unless they're like a very obscure player, which to be fair, I guess, there are some that are super hard to get in. But the problem is with those, they're actually often bringing the chemistry of your team down overall because they're not helping other players. So I don't know, like it doesn't feel like a reward really particularly. Maybe there'll be more hype as the tournament goes on, I guess. On the flip side, though, 5 appearances is quite a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's for the Copa America, you have to get to the semi-final for 5 appearances. And for the Euros, you have to get to the quarterfinal. So it's like there's a lot of cards that won't get that extra bonus. But as bad as the Make Your Mark upgrades have been and as hard as they've been to pack, I actually think the SBCs have been amazing and very well priced. Simmons, great. Szoboszlai, great. The 𝘬𝘃𝗲𝗏 was great. Like even Darwin Nunez is great. Eustáquio, he's great. Like they've nailed the SBCs, whereas they've got the rest of it wrong, I think.
Yeah. We haven't actually mentioned the 𝘬𝘬𝘦, and he looks really good actually too. So yeah, I agree with that. The SBCs have been good. Maybe just the stuff in packs hasn't been so good. Maybe you're right. There's rumors about icons and heroes coming. They could just switch things up for that and make those more packable, and then I guess people just kind of forget about Make Your Mark a little bit, and it becomes about Make Your Mark players sort of moving forward in their upgrades, which I guess is probably what they're intending to some extent, looking at the upgrade pathway. Is there any kind of analysis on this 91 plus Encore icon pack? Because I guess we haven't really had an icon player pick as good as this yet, right? It's funny because it looks kind of expensive, but actually an 87 and 88 rated squad isn't awful to get if you get some high rated Make Your Mark players, which I guess people can occasionally. Do you think it's worth a gamble? I guess it's always going to be, depends on your willingness to risk the fodder, I guess.
At least they're including like some of the greats of the game stuff right away. Like think about how long it took us to get, like when they've done icon SBCs to include the like newest batch of the promo icons or whatever. And so I'm like thrilled about that. But I feel like I always end up doing it because I'm like, how else am I going to pack some of these cards? You know what I mean? Or like, how else am I going to, because I just end up spending my coins on stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Like 650k packs, which I haven't done for Make Your Mark because the promo's been, like I haven't been that interested in any of the cards either, I guess. And I think I was thinking about it as you guys were talking. I think it's partly because I just like, when I think about fun cards to use, like if there aren't icons, I'm like way less hyped about it, like in general. Like I don't care. Like irrespective of pack weight, I'm kind of like, I would like to be using some of the icons. Like I packed Ballack and that was sweet, man. I was pumped about that. 𝘵𝗵𝗽. And out of the 650k pack, I got like an icon almost every time.
Yeah. Make
Your Mark, I've been like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's not just presumably the chemistry impacts either, because I guess that doesn't factor in so much anymore because Path to Glory players have pretty good chemistry. So it must be more the kind of hype around icons and heroes.
Yeah, I mean, icons and heroes are super fun, man. They just are. Like, they just are. They always will be. They feel like the most exclusive items in the game. Even the bad ones, like Neb's talking about with like 𝘬𝘂𝘁 and stuff. It's like, it's still fun. Like, it's still super, super fun. So I'm looking forward to them coming back. And that's why I always do, I feel like I always do the gamble SBCs for that reason, even when I know they're junk. And I gotten junk the last, I don't know, however many times. Like they've been terrible, like atrocious for me. And I'm still going to end up doing them. Yeah,
I got 𝘵𝘗𝘗 in what was, I think, my second icon upgrade type thing this cycle, which was just ridiculous at the time. But since then, it's just been so bad. But probably deserved, really, because that helped a lot early on. Are you doing these, Nep, or not that interested?
No. For me, again, it comes down to like ease of access to them. You know, if the fodder was there, if the game was grindable, I would do them 100%. Even knowing that they're bad, or if the weight of them was better. And I know, like, in EA's mind, they probably have the data, so they're probably right. But they must think that if they give out too many good cards from these, people won't need to go to the store or whatever. But I personally think it's like different. I think if people saw good cards coming out of these relatively regularly, you might actually have somebody go and buy a 650k pack to get the fodder, to do the SBC, to get a chance of an icon. You know, I opened a whole bunch of them yesterday for viewers, and one Rivaldo is all we saw. Like everything else was just literally pointless. And it's like, man, this is not incentivizing anybody to do it in any way. Again, unless if the grind's good, because then like Jape says, this is your only chance realistically of getting one of these elite level cards.
I've done a lot of upgrades previously, which like I'm not generally like a huge menu guy, but I knew that I was going to get like the fodder necessary to be able to do like a bunch of SBCs that I wanted to. And instead, I've just stopped doing stuff on the menus and become way more selective about the SBCs that I complete.
Yeah, I think having that pinnacle thing to grind for, which isn't a very expensive player, which not everyone necessarily wants to get locked into. So a good icon pick is a really good thing to have there for people to encourage them to grind the menus. Obviously, players can do that, and I'd say I've got on it a bit more because of completing Nunez. But yeah, I agree with you, Japes. Similar situation since Team of the Season. And actually, there's something else which maybe doesn't have the right pinnacle at the moment, and we'll get to that just after this break. Hello, listeners. A quick reminder that this podcast is made possible through the generosity of supporters out there. And actually, they aren't just doing it out of the kindness of their heart, because you get a whole extra podcast every single week as a supporter. And you can sign up for a 7-day free trial right now over on Patreon. And after that, it's just £3 a month to continue supporting. It makes a huge difference. The podcast for a time wasn't able to be weekly because I had other work commitments, but this has made it possible to deliver a podcast every single week, and in fact, an extra one too, just for supporters, as I mentioned. So if that interests you and you want that extra content, and actually if you would like even more, there's the supporter Discord at the gold tier. There is the Hall of Fame at the end of the podcast. In the icon tier, there are loads of perks available. So why not check it out if you haven't done so already by searching Support for Weekly or following the link in the description of this podcast. If you consider doing so, that would be hugely appreciated. And a big thank you to all those supporters, as I said, keeping the podcast going and keeping Foot Weekly weekly. Right, let's get back into the pod. Hello, welcome back after the break. Right, something I want to start off talking about, and I guess this is really just a bit of a gripe I have currently, is champs rewards, because they are and have been the same for a while, and it doesn't look like they're necessarily going to change. They actually changed the schedule of champs, so I was thinking, maybe they'll be changing the rewards, but that didn't happen. For those who don't know, it's actually starting at 8 a.m. on Friday UK time. They've extended it further, basically, so it's like 4, almost feels like kind of 5 days of champs, which is a real departure from what we had, obviously, when champs started. For those who don't know, it was like 2 days or 48 hours or something like that, and of course 40 games. So very different to what it once was. And I guess there's two things here. One is how long champs is and whether this makes sense and what the plans might be going forward for champs. But actually also just, first of all, the rewards. Some people are getting those top rewards, and obviously some people are always going to get them. And so you start to see those players just consistently, if people have them, because they're very good still. But then also, for a lot of people, you're just seeing the same players over and over again now, because obviously the most common players crop up time and time again. So obviously what we're used to is these rewards changing each week to, give a bit of squad variety. Now, it's kind of okay to some extent because we have these Path to Glory players, Make Your Mark players that are pretty strong. So people are actually using those and they're relatively easy to get in. But I don't know, I feel like there's an opportunity here for them to shake it up a bit, especially perhaps as we get towards the end of the Path to Glory, Make Your Mark window, and the players are maybe, I guess, less premium, although some of them are pretty cheap already. Maybe we could see those enter champs rewards. And I guess my question is, what do people think they should do over the summer with champs rewards? What would make sense?
Put promo cards in, dude.
Yeah, I know they've resisted it in the past, but surely at this point in the cycle, they've got to just do it.
Or give me an icon pick too. Like the icon pick that's available right now, if that was part of the champs rewards, I'd be interested.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite a lot of value though, right? Like 300k.
So what? So what?
Well, different pick depending on the tier that you achieve, I guess, right?
Yeah, sure. I just think it should be the number of players that it is, or the number of players that you get in the pick, if that makes sense.
I would be more than happy for just rank 1 to get an icon pick. Incentivize people to actually be good at the game. At the moment, stopping at 11 wins is or if you're real good at the game, stopping at 14 wins is just so efficient. And we used to get a team of the season tradable 11-man pack. Now we get a 3 untradeable pack. And it's like, maybe, okay, the games are different, they've changed and whatnot. And I don't I've enjoyed this game immensely this year overall. So I don't want to always just be negative about things, but champs and rivals rewards right now are so bad comparative to what's available elsewhere that there is zero incentive to play this game.
I think you're right. And it's also that thing of part of what is great about champs during team of the season is that you pick up players that you can give a go in your squad, right? And there's players that you're like, oh, I'll fit that player in because I've just got someone who's, pretty decent and I'll give them a try, why not? But right now it feels like, because there's just this continuous churn of basically the same players popping up. And we've got all these players out there that are interesting through Path to Glory and through Make Your Mark. There's not so much incentive to bring those players in unless it's like a Haaland or a Mbappe or someone like that, which is relatively rare. So yeah, I think there definitely needs to be some change. But also I do agree with you, Nat, that actually at the top end, I think there should be much more incentive for people to kind of push their champs rank. And I've said before that I think the difference between 11 and 14 wins is just too big in terms of the number of wins and the quality of reward. There needs to be either much better rewards at 14 or something in between to motivate people to push on and to basically increase the pool of players that are actually playing beyond 11 wins and just kind of picking up their weekly hit of a few reds and some extra rewards, which it feels like is going to be the case.
What they're trying to do with like the Enzo and the Nuno Mendes, like I'm here for. Like I'm like the 𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗏 and the 𝗏𝑺 when they did that too. Like I'm all about that. The tricky part is if you want me to use like a full Portuguese team, don't give me a left back. Like give me an icon. So or like give me like a really saucy feeling player like that Bernardo. I maybe would have been like,
but imagine like a special 𝘂𝑫𝗏𝗀 that you could only get from there. How cool would that be?
That's what I'm talking about though. If you want to make sure people have access to it, like do it over the course of a bunch of weekends, but still make people get like, I don't know, if you did it for a month, well, like 70 wins, is that reasonable? 65? So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to get to 𝗪𝗀𝗏𝗏 because I don't grind objective stuff. And like, I'm fine with that. But like, let me try to get like a special version of an icon. We have the greats of the game available right now. Like throw a greats of the game in. I just want to see more stuff. Perhaps like assurance with rewards that aren't just like meh.
It's interesting with that 𝗪𝗀𝗏𝗏 though, isn't it? I know people aren't quite there yet. A few people that I know like 2,000 XP away or so, like they'll get it like
which is
week.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. But that card, the fact that card's there now with an engine, he's got 99 face stats in everything except defending and physical. Like he's crazy good. And do you know what that says to me? The next promo or the next part of this game is going to be full of players like him, and everything that we're doing now is irrelevant because there's no way they'll give
but isn't that the
most
case?
Premium player in the game in an objective. Yeah, but again, it just makes me think like we're playing champs for like team of the season cards, man. Like we're about to enter into 98 and 99 raters everywhere, and we're playing champs for team of the seasons.
That's just always the way they do it, though. They're not going to give you like, why are you going to buy stuff in the future that's better? If you're getting access to cards that are future proof now.
Yeah, I think Nep's point is that why not have that kind of caliber in champs?
Well, for them, it's got to be more valuable to spend that amount of time to do the objectives on the game. Like that player is deemed probably more valuable than the champs player who's getting those. They're probably saying the champs player has gotten a lot of these big rewards, or not big rewards, but is like good enough to have big cards in their team that we don't need to, they're not the target here.
Yeah, that's probably fair that they feel they should reward people who are also just willing to do, these very specific objectives and make sure they get all the XP possible, and that is valuable too. But I guess, I just like the idea that champs is something that is going to reward you well and that people are motivated to play.
It should be. They position that as, they try to change it to like rivals as our competitive mode, but it's not. Everybody knows it's not. And it's, why it's not? It's not for the same reason that like, in my mind, people get way more, as fans, we get like super hyped for Euros, World Cup, like all that sort of stuff. It's because it feels like a tournament, right? And it feels like things can be different each time. Like Rivals is like, well, yeah, we're in the Premier League, so we're going to play the Premier League season. It's not like we're going to have to go for it here. So I like keep keep champs, in my mind, in many ways, like that sort of competitive mode, but the competitive mode for rewards. Like, I just make that the mode that like makes the difference. And it just feels, I mean, we've talked about it a bunch. It feels like way too random in the sense of you could finish, like, I can't tell you how many times I finished rank 1 this year and then had people with like 11 wins get like way better cards than me and just feel like, what was the point of that? Like, other than personal like accomplishment and like feeling like I did it, which is cool.
Yeah.
Why did I try so hard when it's just random?
Yeah. I agree. I think we're all agreed in that there's too much kind of RNG within the champs rewards that, you know, don't push people to push themselves in champs. And I think actually, you know, pushing yourself in champs is, for a lot of people, something that's actually fairly enjoyable and would motivate people to play more. There is the flip side, though, that, you know, when people were not playing champs and it was very rewarding, they felt like they were getting really behind. Whereas now, obviously, you know, it's maybe not so important. So there's less like FOMO in the game.
That's when there wasn't like a menu grind. Like, if you're not playing champs and you want to stay in good shape, you like, if I went away for a weekend, if I was like, and I don't know, spending a bunch of time on like an airplane or whatever, if I wanted to not play champs and grind menus, I could still come out with like some type of, call it like meta level card, like when the grind was good, some type of meta level card that would make me feel like I could pop in next week and be very competitive. That didn't exist before, or the ability to do that didn't exist before. So it was either like you play champs or you are behind. There's no, you know, there's no one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I literally agree. I agree with that, and it exposes one of the biggest issues that they've had in recent years is finding the balance with everything. And I don't know if it's because they can't, or because of maybe potentially like high staff turnover, or because, you know, maybe they do things on the fly. I really couldn't speak to why, but it's like, this is what I mean. Like, it's mad to get that pushcast, that Gerard or Cruz and those other cards for grinding the objectives that are far less difficult to achieve than, say, Japes' 18 wins in champs or rank 1 in champs, where you get nothing. And I just don't understand why they don't kind of make more changes to balance, even less ignore gameplay, just content. I don't know why they don't make more changes on the fly to balance content. Like, it would be so easy right now to just put a make your mark player pick in from like rank 4 and above, and maybe 2 for rank 1. And just be like, there you go. Now all of a sudden I'm looking at it thinking, yeah, do you know what? I'm playing. I want to see what card I get.
Yeah, it is mad that, isn't it? Because I don't think it has to be especially amazing to motivate people to play, right? As you say, like, it doesn't even necessarily need to be as good almost as Ultimate Tots Champs rewards that we have currently, because people just want to try new cards to some extent. So it's probably almost something from their perspective where they're, you know, having a struggle in terms of the, I don't know, like technical time and commitment it takes to actually make those changes, which is just mad. Like, they, you know, they have enough players and enough resources that they should be able to be changing these rewards on the fly, as you say. Right, we'll talk about Evolutions for a bit, actually. It's been a different weekend for Evolutions slightly. We had the USA Evo and also the Netherlands Evo come at the same time. And we had the final, I guess, one of those like Copper/Euros Evos where you have a specific player pool. One of the interesting things about that is I was noticing that Casemiro, through the defensive Evo, obviously he was released as a midfielder, the 87 rated, looks really, really good. He has like insane stats. I mean, it's like maxed out in almost every category apart from pace and shooting, I think. So it's well worth having a look at sort of all the options for some of these players, because they do occasionally look better, or actually quite often look better in one of the other evolutions. Yeah. And again, you know, worth holding on to do evolutions a lot of the time. And for those wondering, if you go to one of the 87 rated players on FUT.gg, you go to the evolutions tab for that player, you'll pretty much see all 3 there, if they are eligible for all 3, which, you know, most of them obviously are. Nep, anything to add on these particular evolutions? I guess we haven't heard from you on this style. I think early on I said it, you know, just felt silly because this is basically Objectives 2.0. But I guess the fact they can go in different evolutions makes it a bit more interesting.
There's a few things in the game cycle over the last couple of weeks that have just really turned me off playing the game. And it's a shame because I've invested more time and energy into this game than literally any before it. And I have spent millions of coins on my evolutions and countless hours grinding them up for all of these 95 rated Evo opportunities to be pumped into the game, none of which are Arsenal cards, all of which are free, and all of which are better than any evolution I've spent coins or time on for the whole game cycle. And I literally just went and deleted like basically all of my Evos after that. I'm not doing it anymore, because this is I feel like I've been like scammed for my coins and my time. And so, as good as these cards look, and I am making a small video series around building 11 of them into a team or 10 of them into a team and doing a champs run with it just to see what I can get. It's just a kick in the nuts for anyone that's grinded Evos throughout the game cycle. Because my ultimate like vision was to have like a full Arsenal Evo team that I thought would be competitive by around this time. Right, I thought by now, it'd be like give us a few like cracking Evos that you can put your cards into that you've been working on all year to be competitive, because it's getting to silly season. But they're so far behind the power curve. It's not even funny.
It's not even like, you can put a couple in your main team, I'm assuming, and they'll do fine. I guess all of them are pretty far behind, are they? There isn't one that's kind of decent enough, or
the only ones that are half decent are like the team of the season cards that have been enabled to be upgraded by like 1 or 2 points here or there. So like my team of the season, 𝗵𝘃𝗀 centre back, he's only 94 rated. He's pretty good, but you've now got 95 Todibo, 95 𝘭𝑪𝑐. We're about to get a 96 𝗵𝘃𝗀 team of the season. Make your mark, SBC, and I don't mind that, because that's my choice for like evoing a popular card, a good player. Like that's always going to happen in promos and things like that. I think that's that's fair. But in terms of the Evo ability, like I really hope next year they and listen, we can give them a bit of slack this year because it's the first year, but I hope next year they allow us to like create a world where the gold card that you had at the start of the game, you can eventually have again at the end of the game.
The construct of like how players fit or don't fit into Evos, to me, it just like, I don't think it would be, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong in terms of like uniqueness, and I could be wrong here. I recognize that. But if you were going to say Nep had his, I don't know, whatever, like a 𝘅𝘅 evolution that he wanted to do, the Evo was like, we'll push the player to like max 95 agility, 95 balance, whatever. You would still probably put that 𝘅𝘅 in, even if he was just getting a couple boosts. Like rather than it being this like max 85 dribbling to get them up to then a 93 dribbling. If you had a player with 93 or 90 dribbling and you wanted to get them to 93, I don't see that being a problem. Like for me, that's not a problem. And playstyles make such a difference in this game. The tricky part is with evolutions, I was like, do I want to put this like player through this Evo right now? Because I don't know, I don't necessarily like want that playstyle, but then they don't fit anything else. And so you're like, what do you do with that? I'm with Nep in a sense of like, I would have loved to, like I had that Matthias Tell, which is still sitting at 86 rated, that I could have put through Incisive Passmaster, but like, then he'd have what, like one playstyle plus? Like, where's that going to get me? Yeah. And I would have loved if I could have kept adding playstyles to him, taking him from 90 pace to 95 pace, like, oh no, but like, would I pay an Evo fee to do that? I would. I probably would.
Here's another thing that they can do as well to benefit people that play champs to a high level. Like imagine just like a rank 1 in champs and you get like a +5 or a +3 dribbling Evo, and you can apply it to anyone.
Now let's talk about a reactions composure Evo.
Yeah, well, precisely. Yeah, but like imagine like literally a +10 composure, and that's all it gives. But if you get rank 1, you get a +10 composure.
I'm here
Evo.
for it.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see them experiment with evolutions over the course of the summer. I can imagine them doing that, considering they need to get things set for 25 and see what people make of different things they haven't tried yet. I do think your point, Japes, about the cap, so that a player increases to the cap rather than gets locked out by requirements, is crucial to the future of evolutions. So I hope they've recognized that and are planning to make that change. It'd be really good to see that. It would change things and make it much more accessible for greater number of players in the game to be put through evolutions. Although with playstyles, it's a little trickier because you'd imagine they'd have a certain cap number of playstyles that they're going to allow you to have. And so that would probably still lock players out. One fun idea potentially to work around that is almost to have, like you've got a skill tree where you can select specific playstyles. So once you've done an evolution where you get a playstyle, every playstyle that you've ever earned through evolutions and that the player has originally would be available for you to select, but only up to a certain cap of X playstyles and X playstyle pluses. Might be a way of working around that. I would say though, I don't know why they're not doing evolutions which are just, look, here's a playstyle plus to add to your player, no stat boost, but it's just that. And obviously, you still got to pick which playstyle you want. There's a bit of choice there because you're only going to have so many playstyles or playstyle pluses. But I feel like that'd be a good way of giving people the opportunity to customize players without increasing the power curve massively, especially if those evolutions are capped at like 3 playstyle pluses or maybe 4 at a push as we go later into the summer. I think that'd be cool to see. On that, actually, I'm sure we'll come back to talk about evolutions, what can be done better in 25 in the not too distant future, but it's been an interesting discussion for now, and actually I'd be keen to hear from listeners on anything we've discussed in this podcast. Get your thoughts in at @FootWeeklyPod or footweekly@mail.com, or of course in the supporter channel in the Discord. If you've enjoyed this podcast and would like an extra podcast every single week, including this week where you'll be able to catch the gameplay pod, then you can become a supporter. It's just £3 a month and you get double the podcast content. And if you'd like to do that, then just search Support for Weekly and you'll find the Patreon, and it's super quick and easy to sign up. Right, we can say our thank yous to our 2 guests this week. First of all, Nep, it's been good to have you on. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always a good chat.
Yeah, indeed. And to 𝗫𝘱 as well. Thank you very much for joining us.
Cheers. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been good. And of course, thank you very much to all you listeners out there listening in. A reminder, you can subscribe via all the various different podcast platforms, including on YouTube. If you're over there, leave a like, drop a comment. Do read them all. And a big thank you, of course, to those supporters supporting the pod, keeping it going, including those icon patrons. Dave B, Hugh J, Darren W, Alistair M, Dom P, Rob P, Jeff B, Damon H, Tom B, Adam G, Neil P, Alex M, Jake S, Dan W, Roger D, Lee A, Andrew C, Nishant, Waterman, Dylan H, Adam R, Rob L, Brendan W, Michael K, David G, Jimmy K, Cherry Drank, John D, Michael B, Aditya S, and Joshua K. Plus a special thanks to Luke M, Dave B, Hugh J, Tom M, Darren W, and Pato Foot for advice and production assistance. Before I leave you, just one more thing to add though. Ultimate Team is a bit like life really. It has its many ups and downs. If you're having a few more downs than ups in real life in these more difficult times, then please don't feel that you're alone or need to struggle on without taking action. If you go to thecalmzone.net, there's loads of resources, advice, support, or even just a friendly chat for anyone who needs it. If it sounds like it could help you, then head over to thecalmzone.net. And for now,